People who got real superpowers. When we talk about superheroes, we generally think of Batman, Superman, or Spider-Man. There are many people out there who wish to be real-life heroes or perform a heroic act that mesmerizes everyone around, just like the above-mentioned superheroes have done. And there are a lot of people who wish to live the life of a superhero they watch in a movie. But these happen in fictional stories, not in reality, as one cannot fly or make a cobweb. However, there are other abilities that may be distinct and only a few may possess. And to our surprise, we have found some people who have those supernatural abilities in them. However, they haven't had it naturally. Most of them ended with those abilities after meeting an accident. Super abilities are surprising, but for you, they even may sound shocking. Let's have a look. Be sure to subscribe to Did You Know and hit the bell so you never miss an upload from us. Also, leave a like right now. We present to you 10 such people who got such superhero powers. Before we move on to remember to take the quiz, we would love hearing your answers from you, and also do vote for your favorites, as the best comment will get a chance to be featured in the next video by Did You Know. Struck by lightning while talking to his mother from a phone booth was enough for orthopedic surgeon Tony Sikora to be left half dead. However, he was brought back to life with the help of the medics. After the accident, he began facing difficulty with his memory and he felt lethargic, but the doctors told him that such conditions were a common thing after such accidents. With time, those symptoms left Sikora. However, he developed a queer feeling of an urge to listen to piano music. He was never curious about it before, but now it was something that really meant a lot to him. In spite of the fact of not knowing how to play the piano, he even bought one for himself. He played the piano by matching it with the melodies he heard in his head, and they were fascinating. He named his first piece the Lightning Sonata, after the lightning incident he had. Doctors were astonished as to how this had happened. However, Sikora is content with his new life and has created several recitals by himself. Unnamed Woman. A claim was made by a woman that she could melt ice with her hands. The claim came after she received a heavy shock with a defective lamp. People were not convinced of the claims, so the woman decided to prove her worth. She took a photo of herself with her palm touching a frozen pond, and cracks in the pond demonstrated how she really possessed the powers. However, it really would have been of significance if the claims were true, as the photos were taken by the photographer Eliza Rizal for the creation of a fantasy-based photo series. Nikolai Krya-Glyachenko. Another claim that came after receiving an electric shock was made by a Russian schoolboy, Nikolai Krya-Glyachenko, who claimed that he developed magnetic powers. He received the shock when a faulty wire of a lamp that he was leaning upon struck him. To Nikolai's surprise, the next morning he woke up with coins that had been on his bed, all sticking to his body. As the day passed, more metallic objects began sticking to his body. Being a fan of comic books and superheroes, he began to show off his talent. Though they have had been many stories over the years, however, Nikolai is the first human magnet to exist. Scientists have denied such claims that people with such magnetic abilities usually misunderstand them, as they usually have extra sticky bodies, and that's it. Franco Magnani. After moving to San Francisco from Italy way back in 1960, Magnani suffered a terrible fever, which caused him to suffer from seizures and become incoherent. Upon recovering, Magnani began recalling memories of his childhood home, which he hadn't seen in the past 30 years. He went deep into his memories and began painting scenes of what he usually saw in his head. Back in Italy, he was a cook, and here in the US, he was a woodworker. Painting was far away from Magnani all his life, but his fever changed things. He began painting genuine photo-like details. Painting memories became a fixation for Magnani, and doctors named the situation as signs of temporal lobe epilepsy, which creates compulsive personality traits in some victims, urging them to draw whatever they recall. Jason Paget. Jason Paget was leading a club in 2002 when he was attacked by two men on the skull, due to which he suffered from a brain condition, concussion. Upon returning home, he began noticing strange geometric shapes everywhere he went and in whatever he saw. For 3 long years, Paget did not leave his house and began drawing the shapes he saw in his head. When people came across his drawings, they noticed that they were fractals, mathematical sets that showed a repeated pattern. Back in school days, Paget was horrible at maths, but now he began mastering the subject. Moreover, he is the only person to be able to draw without stencils or a tool. Conspiracy theories began to pop up as to what resulted in this cause. Finally, a theory explained that the area of the brain that controls the object boundary formation was affected by the blows on the skull, which allowed him to have these geometric figures around him wherever he went, and that's what made Jason draw all those geometric shapes on a piece of paper, not realizing he was actually drawing maths. Here, we ask, what types of superhero powers do you wish to possess? Something related to your knowledge or some good physical ability? Also, let us know why in the comment section and get a chance of getting your answer pinned. Ben Underwood. Ben Underwood was discovered of having retinal cancer at the age of 2. His eyes were removed at the age of 3 to save his life. Ben discovered an unconventional way of getting around as he was unable to see. He began learning the use of echolocation by detecting the location of objects by making persistent clicking noises with his mouth and listening for the echo. By learning this, it became easier for him to get along, play football, run, even ride a bike, and perform multiple household chores. During his teens, he was the most competent human echolocator living. Sad enough that his cancer returned when he was 16 and took his life. Anonymous women. At a family ski trip at an undisclosed hill, a woman claimed an accident that changed her life. She was skiing at a fast pace when her ski got caught up by its edge and she was flying in the air. It left her blacked out for a while. However, she continued skiing despite being dizzy and emetic. The symptoms were not going, so after 2 days she decided to visit the hospital, where it was discovered that she had a displaced shoulder, a fragmented collarbone, and a concussion. Shortly after her hospital visit, she began facing abnormalities with her vision and perception. She remembered everything she saw exactly as it happened, and she began drawing perfect diagrams. Fearing this as a strange sign, she went back to her doctors and couldn't help but, despite going through numerous tests, however, after a year, she was diagnosed with acquired savant syndrome. It's a very rare condition that has affected only barely 50 people in the world. Not much is known of this syndrome. However, the victims tend to demonstrate miraculous skills that they never had before, like the drawing one that this woman did. Ken Walters. Way back in 1986, Ken Walters met an accident that broke his back and he was confined to bed for a year. Moreover, luck did not treat him well, as he was thrown out of his home and he suffered 2 heart attacks as well. For almost 20 years, he had been jobless and he had been living on the streets. Yet again, he suffered a stroke while being in the hospital. He managed to write a note, but to the surprise of a nurse, he actually wasn't writing, rather doodling. Since he was never a doodler, this was something strange from his side. Walter was never good at art and had been an engineer before his accident. Doctors stated that the stroke might have caused the brain to rewire to avoid the affected area. He was told that these symptoms would go away with time. However, they remained. His art gained popularity and drew the recognition of Electronic Arts. He began drawing in-game monsters for the games and is of the idea that he won't be changing his life for the world. Tommy McHugh. British-born, Tommy McHugh was not a likable man most of his life. Most of them considered him as obnoxious in the UK. Along with the drug problem he had a silly habit of punching anyone walking past him. Upon having a drastic headache one day, he went to the doctors, who gave him the bad news. He had bleeding on both sides of his brain from a cracked aneurysm, and if he caused a delay in getting it operated, he would lose his life. Once cleared from the hospital, he figured out he was speaking in rhyme. This went on for 3 months, and then McHugh began seeing strange images that forced him to draw and paint them, though he had never been artistic all his life. Every hour, he had this feeling to draw with them, which made him curious to know what was really happening to him, so he asked the doctors about it, who told him that it was the bleeding that damaged the frontal lobe and resulted in this creativity popping out. Today, McHugh's work is displayed in a number of art galleries over the UK. Moreover, McHugh believes that he's become a nice person too. John Sarkin. John Sarkin was a chiropractor in 1982 in South Hamilton, Massachusetts. After 6 years, sadly, he developed tinnitus, a condition in which you hear ringing noises and as well as hyperacusis, making him extra sensitive to a certain range of sound. The only way to get free from these irritating symptoms was to get operated. However, there were other problems too. Sarkin suffered a stroke and had cerebellar hemorrhage too. When he woke up, he completely lost hearing from one of his ears and his eyes were disintegrated. Doctors told him this condition could be persistent, however, the brain may make changes. And yes, those changes were made and Sarkin turned into an artistic person and began drawing. His artwork became popular and his drawings were put up in different art galleries, and his work was also featured at Vanity Fair. Shockingly, some of his paintings are even worth $10,000. You need to be aware of the fact that all of them had undergone some serious circumstances before ending up becoming a superhero. So, before thinking of having superpowers, you need to think of the troubles you will be going through. However, you may turn into a good artist or a good math teacher too. Some of these stories were full of surprises, and some of them were shocking. What do you guys think? Have you got some ideas popping in your mind from these breakthrough superheroes? Do let us know what powers amuse you the most, and what power do you wish to have in the comment section below. Also, let us know which one of these 10 superheroes fascinated you the most. Hope you guys liked the video. Thank you.